Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It begins 1 month after the tyrant virus caused a zombie outbreak in a facility owned by the Umbrella Corporation. One of the only survivors, Alice, was taken to a private hospital while the contaminated Matt was put into an experiment called the Nemesis program. Beneath the unsuspecting Raccoon City, the Umbrella Corp send in a research team to investigate, but they unleash a crowd of infected scientists. The virus reaches the city while Umbrella staff like Dr. Ashford are escorted to safety, while others like his young daughter Angela evacuate but don't make it out in time as her driver's hit by a passing truck. She's trapped inside a quarantine zone established by Umbrella, who use a bridge to get the final people of importance to safety. A disgraced Special Tactics and Rescue Squad officer goes to the police station headshotting all of the infected that she passes. Jill Valentine releases any petty criminals like LJ and tells them to get out of town before trying to escape herself. One lady's chased to the top of a high-rise, taking a bite in the process, and gets noticed by passing Umbrella agents. Agent Carlos goes against orders and has his squad land their helicopter in order to try help her, but she knows that the bite'll turn her, so she jumps to her death, much to the surprise of Nicholai. On the second day, Umbrella supervisor Cain activates the Alice program and she wanders out of the hospital into the abandoned Raccoon City. Cain goes to the bridge to oversee the final evacuations, where Jill arrives to connect with her old friend, but a man infected with the T-virus quickly turns and bites Sergeant Wells in the leg. With the infection finally reaching the gates, Cain orders the exit to be sealed, locking everyone else inside. It's captured on camera by the reporter Terri as the Umbrella soldiers open fire over the crowd to scare them back into the city. Cain tries to convince Ashford to leave, but he refuses until his daughter's safe. When he's alone, he hacks into the city's security cameras and locates Angela hiding inside the elementary school. He searches the nearby cameras for anyone alive who can help and sees Alice wandering into a department store. She's having constant visions of the experiments that Umbrella did to her that resulted in superhuman strength and speed. Ashford also witnesses Jill, Terri, and Wells hide inside a church with a panicking man who's waving around his pistol. When Jill hears a noise, she goes to check it out to find a priest who's been feeding his zombie sister members of the clergy. She suddenly breaks free and bites him, leaving Jill to put them both down, as a deformed experiment called a licker enters the building. It scares the man into running away from the rest of the group, where he's soon eaten. Jill finds his mutilated remains and returns to Wells and Terri, where they're surrounded by 3 lickers. When realizing that they're out of ammo, a heavily armed Alice comes crashing through the stained glass on a bike that she uses to blow up a licker. She kills the remaining 2 with her shotgun and a falling crucifix before finishing it off and making introductions. While walking through the cemetery and filling the reporter in on the T-virus, Alice notices Wells's infection and wants to shoot him, but Jill says she'll do it when the time comes. Just then the corpses begin rising from the surrounding graves, which Alice is able to destroy with her bare hands as the others retreat. In another part of Raccoon City, Carlos and the Umbrella agents are fighting off the hordes of zombies alongside other STARS members. They get separated from the STARS when one of the Umbrella agents is bitten, but Carlos is saved by Nicholai. The 2 retreat down an alley with their wounded comrade when noticing a helicopter drop a payload into a nearby building. They discover it was weapon crates that have already been emptied of all their contents by someone else, when the infected agent reanimates and bites Carlos on the arm before they're able to put him down. Unknown to them, Cain unleashed the Umbrella's Nemesis program like he did Alice to test its capabilities. Nearby, LJ enjoys himself too much but gets distracted by topless zombies and crashes his wheels. He tries to locate a new car but comes across a STARS sniper who saves his life and directs him to their impenetrable fort inside an old theater. The last surviving STARS operatives offer LJ a weapon, but he's already armed, as is the Nemesis, who comes across the outpost of survivors and receives the orders from Cain to kill them all. The STARS open fire on the Nemesis, but the unfazed giant uses its rocket launcher and minigun to mow down every last soldier. Its accuracy leaves the civilian unharmed after only receiving the order from headquarters to shoot STARS. This whole time Ashford's been trying to get someone on the phone, and finally Alice decides to answer it. He offers to arrange their evacuation from the city in exchange for rescuing Angela, but the others want to set up defenses until backup arrives. The former Umbrella agent explains why it won't work, as the company's more likely to drop a bomb on Raccoon City and just cover it up. They push on towards the school when Wells is suddenly cut down by the Nemesis, whose primary functions to test its skills against Alice. Cain observes as his 2 experiments go head to head, but the indestructible force easily overpowers Alice, forcing her to retreat. She dodges rockets and hides at a police station, but the Nemesis chases her into a laundry chute and fires a rocket, narrowly missing Alice, who's presumed dead by the experiment and all of the agents watching. Jill and Terri steal a vehicle only to be attacked by a reanimated Wells, requiring his close friend to brain him. They travel to the school but run into LJ on the way, who's now all alone and needing some new teammates. Nearby, Carlos and Nicholai also receive the offer from Ashford, and they all converge on the elementary school, which has had a visit from the canine department recently. Inside, Jill, Terri and LJ split up to find Angela quicker, with Terri having never even held a gun. She finds what looks like a girl sulking and assumes it's Angela, but it's one of a swarm of zombie children surrounding her that leap on Terri before she fires a single shot. LJ enters another room and gets startled by a mannequin, before a jump scare with a zombie is killed by Carlos. He identifies the civilian as receiving the same offer from Ashford, and they work together to find Angela. Jill reaches Terri too late but finds Angela and gives her the camera to carry. They try exit through the dining hall but are attacked by a zombie dog that knocks the gun from Jill's hand. Before it kills her, Nicholai shows up and shoots the dog and all of the other infected wandering around the hall. He introduces himself as an asset expended by Umbrella when another infected dog attacks him. He tells Jill to take Angela, expecting to easily deal with the dog alone, but a second enters and they both tear him apart. Jill and Angela try to hide in the kitchen, but a zombie gives their location away when Jill's required to break its neck. She turns on all of the stoves and tries to blow the dogs up, but her match goes out, so the arriving Alice flicks a cigarette inside, causing the whole canine unit to explode and saving the girls in the process. Angela explains that she carries around a lunchbox full of the cure, as she's also infected with the virus like Alice. Ashford created the T-virus to help his daughter overcome a disease that saw her in a wheelchair like him. It made her stronger, but she now requires constant injections of the cure, while Umbrella weaponized it for their own nefarious reasons. The group reconnect with LJ and Carlos, who hit it off with Alice, and sees his final team member's body. Realizing that he's infected, Alice injects Carlos with a dose of the antivirus as they begin to make their way to the extraction. Ashford tells them to go to City Hall, where an Umbrella helicopter waits but has been discovered to be a traitor by Cain. On their way to the extraction, Alice gets on Terry's camera and documents her story about working for Umbrella and being used as a test subject for the virus. They reach the rendezvous, and just like Ashford said, an Umbrella-owned helicopter sits waiting. Alice takes out the sniper covering City Hall and abseils down the side of the building before beating up all the other agents. She allows the team to reach the helicopter with the help of Carlos, who saves her life, but they realize they're stealing the Nemesis extraction that he intends to use before the bomb strikes. They're suddenly ambushed by Cain and dozens of agents who are already waiting with Ashford prisoner. They restrain all but Alice and command her to fight the Nemesis, and when she refuses, Cain forces her by fatally shooting Dr. Ashford in front of his daughter. To protect the others, she agrees to fight, and they're relatively evenly matched until the Nemesis begins using weapons. Cain gives Alice nightsticks to even the score, and she impales the giant on a piece of metal, but before executing him she realizes that the Nemesis was her friend and doesn't go through with it. Cain orders her to kill the Nemesis, which rekindles the humanity in him when she refuses. When Cain then tells the Nemesis to execute Alice instead, he turns on Umbrella, shooting as many soldiers dead as he can, allowing Alice to escape. Carlos and Jill cut themselves free and fight back, so Cain orders the nuke to be launched on the city. He attempts to escape but is knocked out by LJ, while the Nemesis runs out of ammo and begins using his fists. When Alice is nearly killed by a helicopter, the Nemesis walks up and destroys it with his rocket launcher, but is taken out by the remains crashing down. It kills her friend as Alice's help to the chopper, and as the zombies enter the building she throws Cain out to be mauled by the herd. He quickly runs out of bullets before remembering to save one for himself, and is bitten first by a zombie Dr. Ashford. As he's mauled, the surviving 5 leave in the chopper but don't make it far enough before the missile detonates over City Hall. The shockwave causes a metal pole that's flung towards Angela to be intercepted by Alice, killing her and sending them crashing into the ground. Sometime later, a team sent by Umbrella to the crash site to retrieve Alice's body, while the others are nowhere to be found. The Umbrella-owned media stations call everything a hoax and blame it on a meltdown like Alice suspected. They claim that Jill and Carlos are wanted for causing the hoax, with the footage from Terri being called fake. 3 weeks later, in another Umbrella facility, Alice has been cloned and given a new life by the scientist Dr. Isaacs. He makes sure that she can understand him and prepares to indoctrinate her into the service again, but new Alice can remember what the previous did and that Umbrella's the bad guys. She continues fighting for her freedom and uses her superhuman abilities to defeat all of the guards, including one in the security room that she uses telekinesis on. Outside, she's surrounded by more Umbrella agents but gets rescued by her friends disguised as high-ranking officials. They think they've pulled one over on the corporation, but Isaacs has allowed them to escape as he reactivates the Alice program. And the movie ends.